Hi, your file looks good and everything that you've done in this manipulation folder is good, except you didn't use any layer masks to soften the edges, and I'm going to throw a background into him. So I just want you to see a couple of the important aspects of what this was, which was to utilize layer masks too. So I'm going to click on the image manipulation layer where everything that you see here is, and I'm going to hit the V key and just move him down to the bottom just a little bit so I can position him somewhere. Now I want to hit Command or Control T and not hold the Shift key and just, I did that wrong. I want to hold Alt or Option so that he stays in the center. Look if I just grab this and he moves up to the upper right, which is okay, but if I hold Alt or Option, look at how he just moves from the center. Now, what I would like to do, and I made him slightly bigger here, is to put him into a fun background. And by doing so, you're going to see that, making him a little smaller, you're going to see that his edges need to be softened, which hence the layer masks. So I've already picked up an image on this, and I'm going to go to it right now. And it's just a fun European image. Let's just pretend he's visiting. So let's duplicate that layer and send it to your Caricature, okay? And now I'll close that file, and now I'll move that below the manipulation folder, okay? Now look at how he looks like he's cut out with a pair of scissors. Well, let's fix that. Let's soften that, okay? So what I can do here is on the image manipulation folder, I can actually add a layer mask. Okay, which means that I can paint on it and soften all the edges around him to make him blend a little bit better. Now, to do that, I'm going to take the B key, make it kind of large. Let me see how this looks in the background. Let me see how big the background is. So I'm going to, because I don't want to lose the street. So I'm going to put it in here and hit Command or Control T, and you can see that it barely fits. So I don't really have a whole lot more room to play with this, so I'm just going to widen it just a little bit, just so it doesn't and I'm going to shrink this one just so I can see a little bit more of the bike. Okay, so I just distorted the proportion, but nobody would know. So if I click to the layer mask, make sure black, look at the foreground color, it's white. I have to hit the X key to make it black. And now if I bring the brush, I'm going to put it in his hair so you can see the size. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that my flow is like 25%. Okay, so it's important that we right hand click and go all the way soft with the brush, and I now have to zoom in and take the time to do this. Okay, and remember, it's non-destructive. So if you go too far with you softening the edge, you can always hit X and paint white back on the layer mask. But let me do this. So look at how now I can actually soften the edge of his shirt just a little bit. Soften the edge of that vest so that it's not so prominent, so that it blends a little bit better with the background. Now let's go around his face right here. I'll zoom in and make the brush a little smaller. And then I just want to show you right there. See how soft that made that edge? Now when I get back on it, you're going to see, well, first of all, I took off too much. So I'm going to hit the X key and put a little bit back in here so we don't have to see the door through his skin. Now I'll hit the X key and continue. So we just want to feather the edge just a little bit. And sometimes we want to, and there's so many ways to do this in a fast way, but this is a very controllable way. Okay, especially around his hair, which would diffuse itself against the background, and this is helping me take away that little light edge on the hair. So let me just come around the hair like this and keep on going. So let's just make the brush, now I can make the brush slightly bigger and just soften the edge of that hair. And now look at how it looks like it's more diffused, how he actually looks like he's becoming into that background, okay? And that takes away the cutout look. And that's what makes a photograph or a composite photograph, which is why I wanted you guys to put in a background, important. So to be able to control on the layer mask, what I'm doing in front of you is really important. And then I want to show you on a couple of his on his parts you cut out, I want to show the same thing. Now I would take more time to do this, but it's turning out fine. I just want to soften that cheek. I did it a little bit too much. And again, this is non-destructive. So watch how I can hit the X key. Now paint white back on here so we don't see the streak through his skin. I just soften it a little bit. And let's just put that right back in there. Let's put this skin right here. Now let's come down around his vest. Whoops, I'm painting white. I have to hit the X key to paint black or nothing will happen. Remember that black removes pixels. White restores pixels. Okay, so if you want to just memorize that, that'll help you in the future. And it's so important to work with layer masks because layer masks, as I said before, are non-destructive. Now I'm going to back off of this and I want you to see, let me do this side a little bit more. I want you to see how good this is going to look when I actually get back on it. Let me hit the X key and put that right back in there. There. Now here is how he looks now in this background. If I right hand click and disable it, that's how he looked before. He looks too harsh. Okay, so I'm going to right hand click and enable it. Now the same thing occurs like on his mustache. So I'm going to hit the V key, watch this, right hand click on the mustache and it'll take me right to the goatee layer. See how it even opened it up? So what I want to do is soften the top edge of that. So how do I do that? I just add a layer mask. I take the paintbrush now, make it small and just remove, I have to make it black again in the foreground color and just remove a little bit of that. Now I am going to enable and disable. First I'll disable the layer mask and you'll see how well this will look. And you did a really nice job. This is just the finessing of it. It's just super non-destructive. Now around his nose you could have left a little bit more skin so that we could have softened it a little bit more. So I'm going to hit the V key, right hand click around the nose, add a layer mask, hit the B key and just soften that nostril on the edge a little bit more there and a little bit more as it goes around here. Now the same thing can occur if anything is too harsh. You did, like I said, you did a really good job. But now if I zoom into that mustache, or the goatee, I'm sorry, especially on this part of the goatee. Let me take off the goatee. Okay, I'm going to actually soften the bottom of that goatee. So I have to click on the layer mask, use black, let me make it the brush a little bit bigger, and soften the bottom of this so it blends into his skin just a little bit more. Okay, I don't want to use an eraser on the image because that's destructive. This is non-destructive. So here is that disabled. Look at how that looks a little bit too cut out or harsh. Here it is enabled. And I realize it's subtle, but that's how you composite a character into another photograph to make it look natural. I hope, and I think for your portfolio you need to add a background, and if you want to resubmit it to me, that's fine. It won't take you long.